Welcome back to the School of Hard Knocks podcast. I am your host, Mark W. Knox. This is the third session of the School of Hard Knocks podcast summer series. This is this third session. Last week, we talked about casting your fears on others and why that is not fair. The week before that, we talked about the fear of rejection. This week, I want to talk about two things. And you heard from the title and from the opening that everybody is doing one of two things at any given point in your life. At any given point in your life, you're doing one of two things. I guarantee you. If you're not doing one of two things, then you're not living. You're not living. All you're doing is existing, right? One of two things. You're either chasing something or you are running from something, right? Think about that. You're either chasing something or you're running from something. And the reason why I want to bring this to your attention is because in both of these scenarios, there's positives and negatives. In both of these scenarios, there's motives, right? In both of these scenarios, there's consequences in both of these scenarios. And that's the reality. You're either chasing something or you're running from something. So let's break it down and let's just keep it super simple, right? So a lot of people can be classified in category one as chasing something, that you are chasing success or you're chasing wealth or you're chasing money. Let's just group those together just for the purposes of our conversation today. Wealth, success, or money. You're chasing these things. Now, when you're chasing, you are behind, right? That is the definition of chasing. The definition of chasing is you are behind something. Something is in front of you, and that's something, whether it be a moving target or it's just faster than you, you're chasing it. You're behind. Now, what that does mentally, in my unprofessional opinion, is it gives you a sense of urgency, because when you are behind, you are constantly trying to catch up, which means you move faster. Okay, you move a lot faster, versus running parallel to something and you're basically just trying to keep pace. You're trying to keep pace. Now, there's very few individuals that could honestly tell me that they're just trying to keep pace, right? Because in the way I look at it, if you're just trying to keep pace, then you're closer to the category of running from something, which could be potential poverty, just to make it plain, than you are chasing. If you're in that middle section, then you're actually closer to running from something, right? So when you are chasing something, whether that's success, money, or what do we say? Success, money, or wealth, you are behind. You feel like you need to either catch up or surpass. Now, as we've learned on this show many weeks in the past, everything has a cost, right? So when you are chasing something, there's a cost. When you're chasing something, you inevitably are going to leave things behind that don't benefit you or weighing you down or are causing you to run slower or causing you to run the race slower. So you're going to have to give up those things, right? So there's a cost to chasing something. But the reality is, when you are chasing something, you're pretty much locked in. You're pretty much focused on wherever that thing goes, whether it is left, right, or right down the middle. You're right on their tail. I think about like when you watch these, and maybe it's just me that watch these, but when you watch these like these lions and tigers and stuff that are hunting and they're chasing their prey, regardless of what direction that prey runs, whatever is chasing it is literally taking the same path, or sometimes circumventing the path to try to gain an edge, right? So they may do a little pursuit angle to try to gain an edge. That's the reality of chasing. Now, I said that there's positives and negatives. When you're chasing, whatever you're chasing, that's positive. The reality is you're striving for more. You're striving for better. You're trying to get something that you don't currently have because you feel like you need it in order to go to the next level. And there's absolutely positively nothing wrong with chasing. The negative side of chasing is that when you are chasing, when you are so focused on what is in front of you, it is very difficult for you to make calculated decisions based on what you've already been through and based on the past. When you're chasing something, you very rarely look behind you. When you are running a race, when you are pursuing anything physically, how often do you actually look behind you? You don't. You keep your eye on whatever you're chasing. Now, doing this and putting your blinders on, again, it causes you to make decisions, snap judgment decisions, things that are, a little too urgent in some regard. It causes you to make decisions out of desperation because all you can focus on is that thing that's in front of you. You're chasing. And again, it's not all negative. It's not all negative. I'm chasing wealth and success and money just like you. If I wasn't, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. I wouldn't be doing business. I wouldn't be doing half the things that I do. And that's the reality, is that I'm chasing those things. I'm focused on those things. Now, how aggressively you're chasing them and to what level you're chasing them can vary. It can have seasonality to it, right? You can catch up to where you think you want to be and try to keep pace for a little while until that thing, grows and gets to a point where it outpaces you again. Because the reality is money, success, and wealth is a moving target. Once you get to wherever you think you want to get to, we've known this, just by watching people over time, you're going to want more. And that's the reality of it. Enough, you've heard them say, when is enough enough? It's not. It's not, because every level you go to, subconsciously, inadvertently, however you want to put it, you're also going to increase your lifestyle. Now, it's a great story. It's a great story to say, hey, I'm going to make twice as much money as I make now, and I'm going to keep my same lifestyle. That's a great story. And if you can do that, if you're disciplined to do that, congratulations. Congratulations. But the reality is that rarely happens. We see billionaires and we see millionaires, and they're like, yeah, you see him on Instagram. He's a millionaire and he wears the shoes that are, 2 years, 3 years old, that are all beat up, and he wears regular blue jeans from Levi's, and he drives a Ford Taurus. I remember back in the day, they used to say Bill Gates drove a Ford Taurus and all of this. Like, he was like, okay, cool. Like, he's a billionaire. He can do what he wants to do. But the reality is you don't see where he's spending money. That don't have anything to do with him not trying to look the part. That's all about values. That's a whole nother conversation. He doesn't value clothes. He doesn't value cars, but he values stock and he values real estate. So that's where his money is. So again, when you go up to the next level, when you're chasing, once you catch it, whatever it is that you're chasing, your appetite is going to increase and you're going to continue to chase something else. Now, the reverse of that, just like we said before, is running from something. Right. And again, there's positives and negative. I know it sounds like when you're running from something, it sounds negative off the bat. It just does. You're running from something. But the reality is you could be running from poverty because you know what that feels like and you don't ever want to go back. And maybe you're not in a position to where you're actively chasing wealth, but you're running from poverty. And you think to yourself, well, if I'm running from poverty, then aren't I chasing wealth? Not necessarily. Your motivation has to be that of you want more because you want more. When you're running from something, your motivation is, I want to get out of this situation because I don't want to get eaten. Right? So when you see the gazelle running from the lion in the Serengeti, in the Sahara, the gazelle is not running because they want to run. The gazelle is not running just, to see how fast they can run. No, the gazelle is trying not to get eaten, right? So again, if you're in the situation where you're running from something, maybe the motivation is you don't want to be impoverished anymore. You don't want to be uneducated anymore. You don't want to be in a situation of lack or making decisions out of desperation anymore, because you know what that feels like. You have not yet made it to a place where you're chasing the opposite of poverty, or you're chasing the opposite of uneducated. You've not made it to that place yet because you're still operating from desperation of trying not to get eaten by what it is that you know is right behind you. When you're running from something, it only takes one misstep in order for that thing that's chasing you to catch you, right? So when you're right on the cusp of a breakthrough financially, you're right on the cusp of making decisions. You just made it out of the situation, and you finally know what it feels to not live paycheck to paycheck. One wrong move can put you right back, and that's what you're running from. Right. So, for example, the motivations are much different. If I just made it out of a situation where I'm not living paycheck to paycheck anymore, right, my car could break down and that could send me right back to poverty. So that's the motivation. The motivation is to not be in that situation again, versus you've been in a situation where you know what it feels like not to live paycheck to paycheck, and now you want more because you want to go on vacation, or you want to buy some investment property, or you want to do a side business. That's totally different. That's chasing versus getting chased. Okay. So I want you to examine in this session 3 of Summer Series, I want you to examine what areas of your life professionally you're chasing something, what it is that you're chasing, determine the positive and negative aspects of whatever it is that you're chasing. And then I want you to take the inverse of that and say, what am I running from? What am I running from? I just told you, I am chasing, wealth, money, success. I mean, let's just be honest. That's what most people are chasing. And if you're chasing something, it's typically one of those 3 or a combination of. Some people chase fame, right? That's another thing. Some people chase recognition, right? That's another thing. If I was to say, what have I ran from in the past? Definitely poverty would have been one of those things. Just because, it wasn't all Skittles and rainbows growing up. It wasn't all Skittles and rainbows when we first got married. Right. So I ran from that situation. What do I have to do to not feel like this anymore? And now that you've reached a level of comfort, or so you think, or so we think, or so we feel, now you're like, okay, I'm in a good position to be aggressive and chase something else, because I'm no longer running from that which was chasing me, right? Poverty. So I want you to look at what is chasing you, and I want you to look at the positive and negative, because again, running from poverty is not negative. That's admirable. Keep running. Run as fast as you possibly can, and eventually you will outpace poverty, and you'll be in a situation to be aggressive toward that other thing, that success or that wealth or that money, whatever it is that you're chasing. The options, right? Some people just chasing options. Some people just chasing be able to sleep till 10 a.m. every day of the week. So whatever I got to do to be able to sleep till 10 a.m. every day of the week, that's what I want. That's what I'm chasing, right? They chasing options. They chasing exposure. Some people want to travel and see the world. They're chasing it. What do I need to do in order to travel as much as I want to travel? That's what I'm chasing, right? But that's a totally different motivation. It's a totally different mindset. Totally different mindset, because now you're not the prey anymore. Now you're the hunter, right? So the hunted becomes the hunter. I like saying that. The hunted becomes the hunter. I want you to examine your life. I want you to examine your professional situation, your entrepreneurial situation, and figure out what it is you're running. Some people are running from not getting fired, right? They're running from not getting fired, and running from not getting fired typically puts you in a position where you're like an average employee. You're doing enough. Some people are chasing a promotion, so they're going above and beyond. That's what I mean. There's positive and negatives in both of those atmospheres, and that's what they are. They're atmospheres. The atmosphere is totally different when you are chasing something. When you are the aggression behind the thing, the atmosphere is totally different. You almost set the atmosphere, right? When you are running from something, the atmosphere is totally different. It could be completely uncomfortable. I want you to examine those areas in your life. I want you to take notes. I want you to do a mind map. I want you to do whatever you need to do to capture those thoughts. Capture those thoughts. What am I running from, or what am I chasing? Because I guarantee you, you're doing one of two things. This has been the School of Hard Knocks podcast. I'm your host, Mark W. Knox. Class is dismissed. YouTube family, thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for listening to this session 3 of the School of Hard Knocks podcast summer series. If you need help determining what is chasing you, or what you are running from, or what you are chasing, or what you are pursuing, opportunity knocks. hardknockspodcast.com/insiders. That's insiders with an S. I want you to go ahead and register for the 6-week group coaching program. It's called the Dean's List. The Dean's List. All right. You know, we're going with this whole academic theme for the School of Hard Knocks. So we calling it the Dean's List. hardknockspodcast.com/insiders with an S. The link is also right below in the show notes. Thank you guys very much. I'll catch you next week.